Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I'm trying to catch up on Masha's video challenge on the top tarot trumps, and I missed the Temperance, I missed the Devil, and by the time I finish catching up, she'll probably be on the Tower. So I wanted to try to at least get Temperance out. Excuse me. So with Temperance, I'm convinced, of course, that the origin story of the Temperance card would have been a reference to the wedding of Cana and diluting the effects of alcohol, either diluting the effects of alcohol with water or cheap wine in order to stretch the alcohol for the sake of the party. So either way. However, I think the more common understanding of Temperance is to dilute means the word temperance, right? Temperance, literally, if you think of the temperance movement, means to subdue the effects of alcohol by diluting it to some degree with water or, as I mentioned, cheaper wine. So I've gone to the earliest decks that I can find just to see, how they look and notice what's in those cards. And then I've progressed to, I think, some shocking examples of temperance that I don't think you'd expect to see me show. So I hope you have fun with this particular video. Let me flip the camera and we'll get started. Now, aren't these backs something? Some of them are kind of interesting. From left to right, I have the Charles VI. This is by Marco Benedetti. I have the Visconti Modrone by Scarabeo, and it may or may not be the original card. It may be another card from the Visconti Sforza collection because maybe that card wasn't available. I have the Mitelli, again, by Marco Benedetti. I have the Anonymous Tarot of Paris, this one published by the International Museum of Tarot in Italy. Then I have the Sevenfold Tarot. And then I have a very interesting Legrand Circus and Sideshow Tarot by Joe Lee. So I'm just going to show them in chronological order, okay? So in the probably or perhaps the earliest of the decks that we have here, we have the what is known as the Charles VI Tarot. It's an image of a woman, a seated woman. It doesn't look like wine. It looks like a clear liquid magically being poured from one vessel to another. In the Modrone by Scarabeo, the woman is standing. She may be a recreation or she may be from another Sforza deck. I'm not really sure about the origins of this particular card. But we have, it doesn't look like wine. It looks like water. But the vessels are different colors. So that's kind of interesting. Now we have the Mitelli, which is one of my personal favorites. And again, we have two different vessels that are different colors. But again, the liquid looks not to be wine, but water. So maybe the idea is that the water is being poured into the red vessel, which maybe has red liquid, which might be wine. And that may be the case for all of them. So we're not diluting cheap wine. We're not diluting expensive wine with cheap wine. We're diluting whatever is in this vessel with water. So whatever is in this wine is being diluted. Whatever's in this bottle is being diluted by the water, and the same here. Now, this one we saw the other day when I did some readings. And I really was struck by it as though I saw it for the first time in this deck of the Anonymous Tarot of Paris, where we have a jug of water not being poured into another jug, but being poured onto a fire, an active fire. And then we see smoke because the effect of the water being poured on the fire is to, make the fire less severe or to die it down a little bit. So we have the effect with smoke. And I like this representation a lot because it really does give the same message, but with a different slant, right? We're not diluting wine. What we're doing is we're calming down a fire, or we're calming down the effects of something that might be raging. So we all know when we have too much alcohol, we imbibe too much, that we get our behavior, becomes inappropriate at times, right? And it could be argued that the behavior becomes unacceptable or gets out of control. So this is doing the same thing. It's calming down a toxic or a dangerous situation by trying to literally extinguish it. And the tarot of the sevenfold, the tarot of the sevenfold mystery is doing the same thing. This may be argued to be smoke. I'm not really sure if that could be argued to be smoke. But the woman is extinguishing the fire with water. And so I think it's very interesting, perhaps, I forget the gentleman's name, Robert M. Place. Did he get the idea from the Anonymous Tarot of Paris? And this one, I like these because they get the message across, without the traditional, without sticking too much to the traditional image. But this one gave me a chuckle. This one shows twins that are conjoined, where there's a constant tug of war, perhaps, because each one of them has a will. Each one of them is their own person, and yet they are forever together, and they have to constantly compromise, and they constantly have to temper their own impulses or their own desires in order to be able to accommodate one another and function together. So I think that's a very interesting way of looking at Temperance card. And I think it's kind of fun to see how these earlier decks, maybe these two are neck and neck for the earliest, and this one, 200 years later, 1650, something like that. And it's still kind of traditional. We just, get the suggestion of pouring water into the red jug. But and an audience from this period of time would have definitely known the reference of diluting the effects of alcohol or stretching the alcohol, right? But I just think these two are like really cool representations of temperance. Really cool. Diverging from the Bible story, separating itself from the Bible story, but it's still the same moral. And this one completely deviates from the normal, what you would or the typical, what you would expect to see in a temperance card, but it still gets the point across. And I think that's, what makes tarot so wonderful. And because you read the deck, right? This card, differs greatly from the thinkers. The creator of this deck, is hundreds of years removed from the person who created the first tarot decks. But yet, they're able to still give the same idea, the same moral concept, the same message. And so even though, the feeling or the interpretation could be similar, in both of these decks, you would read the card too. There's something that you would see in this deck above and beyond the message of temperance. But, the fact that there's two women here might be appropriate to the question being asked. There might be a double side where, when you see one of these cards, maybe you don't think of like, oh, there's two sides to a coin. You might not think that. But here, reading the deck, right, we may get additional information. I hope I'm making sense. And this one, I just love. I just love this card. This has got to be probably my all-time favorite temperance card. And I'm guessing that unless there's another source that's like this that I'm not familiar with or I can't think of, I'm wondering if Robert M. Place got the idea for this card from this source here. Anyway, friends, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace and stay well. Take care of yourselves and everybody you love.